regular meeting in Planning and Zoning Commission, Florence, Arizona. The time is 6 p.m. Mr. Harmon, will you take the roll?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Prow,
Present.
Commissioner Simmons,
Present.
Commissioner Schmidt, Vice Chair Frost,
Present.
Chairman Pranzo.
Present.
At this point, we also have one of the new alternates, Kathy Adam, has joined us tonight. And I believe that's all. You do have a new council liaison, Council Member Larson. I don't see her at this point yet, but she may also join us. The other alternate is Michael Vanistar. And then you do have a new commissioner who will start at your next meeting, be Commissioner Capolongo. So I just wanted to get those names out there to you and make you familiar with them. Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. I will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, discussion, approval, disapproval of the minutes of regular meeting conducted on December 3rd, 2020. Do we have any discussion? Commissioners?
Nothing here.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion that we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pro, second by Commissioner Vice Chair Frost. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. New business. Presentation, motion to approve or approve with conditions denied of preliminary plat of Anthem at Merrill Ranch Units 30A. Do we have a presentation?
I have a small introduction.
Ms. Benitez.
Chairman, members of the commission, I am presenting Unit 30A for Anthem at Merrill Ranch. It is 90 units, just east of the hospital and south of Franklin Road. It is pretty much the same setup as all the other units within Anthem at Merrill Ranch, and it is on the Sun City side. Staff has found that the preliminary plat follows all requirements set by the town code as well as the AMR PUD, and we have the list of conditions for approval within the staff report. That concludes my introduction.
Great, I'll open up to the commission. Any questions, comments? Mr. Frost.
I could. In the background information, this is a curiosity question. You said we're headed for a build out of 11,172 units in the Anthem community. About where are we at now?
I'm trying to recall, I think the number, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair Frost, I believe that number is right around 3,900.
That's right.
If memory serves, we're right in that range. Mr. Baxter, I'm sure could, jump in on that too. Keep in mind that the entire Anthem and Merrill Ranch PUD extends east of Felix Road. So it's fairly massive. And so we're just getting started.
Commissioner Frost, we're setting, just looking, I've got my running list of plats and stuff going on here between all the owners. I think pre-plat wise, we've approved 5,000 lots. Built right now at this point in time is just a little bit over 4,000. So we have additional lots platted. That includes not just Pulte, that also includes Franklin 643, who owns land west of Hunt Highway, north of Mount Ranch Parkway. That also includes DR Horton, who owns land south of that intersection, south and west of Hunt Highway and south of Mount Ranch Parkway. So that's kind of where we're sitting at right now. As far as platting wise, we're kind of getting to that little over midpoint plats, preliminary platting on the whole development.
A little over halfway.
So I have another, I guess, curiosity question. Where this preliminary plat is located is an area that's already been mass graded. How early do we release grading on preliminary plats and things like that?
Only a portion of this plat has been graded. It's a portion right alongside the wash itself, and it was graded at risk so that we could submit a LOMAR has been submitted for that portion of the wash. So we needed to do some grading in order to get as-built conditions before we could submit a LOMAR to FEMA for approval and designation. There was no floodplain elevations defined at that point in time. So now we are officially submitting a LOMAR and have submitted a LOMAR to FEMA to set those floodplain elevations. But as you know, in your experience, we've got to get the as-built conditions and get those pads in along the wash so that we can certify that's the elevation they're at prior to submitting that LOMAR. So the only portion of the project that has been graded is that area along Franklin and then along the wash itself.
So the floodplain boundaries that are indicated on the plat are post LOMAR, what you anticipate those are?
No, what's shown on the plat are pre-approval. I don't show, the hope is that we have a LOMAR finalized prior to submitting the final plat where we remove all those from the floodplain itself.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even notice that there were any in the floodplain.
There's hardly any. It's just right up along that edge and along the wash itself. If you look, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. They have been removed from the floodplain. That where the plat is submitted, since they're at the right elevation, we were able to remove them. Now it's still in a LOMAR process. We still have to get the certification letter from FEMA certifying to those as-built conditions. That was submitted back in November to Town of Florence staff. Town of Florence staff reviewed it as a floodplain manager, and now it has been submitted to FEMA. And we anticipate a 6-month process with FEMA to actually get the certification at that point in time.
So the numbers are post LOMAR. That's what we're
Yes,
at. That's
yes,
what you submitted.
yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Now I had just a couple of more questions. And that's on page 3 of 4 when it talks about circulation. And I guess this would be more towards town staff and then to, I guess, to Mr. Baxter as well. In circulation, it says in addition to vehicle circulation with the pre-plat, there's a network of community trails. And I guess my big question is there a trail system following this wash corridor to the north so that as development happens to the north, we have interconnected pathways to move people on foot between these various areas?
Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair Frost, since this is at the preliminary plat stage, we don't have those details yet. Those would have to be filed as part of the final plat improvement plans. And at that point, we would be able to review it for linkages to the north.
I guess that would be a recommendation I would make, is that we do have those linkages in there so that we can maintain that for future development to the north and making those interconnected. And then this, Mr. Baxter, this is a question to you, and it's this purely a curiosity question.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm looking at page 3 of the preliminary plat with connection, I believe, to sheet 6, and that's tract B up on the north edge of the development. And I just did a quick scaling on the north side of lot 77. Tract B is 40 feet wide. As you move towards the western end of the development, it goes down to like a little under about 17.76 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this is kind of the back, this is the north end of the development, and there's a pulte to the north of here. Is this just envisioned as a landscaped tract to be maintained in perpetuity?
Yes, track B actually contains a retention pond in it that will take the water out of the side itself. And then on the other side of it, yes, it's going to be landscape area itself along there. So that is, yes, all the way along Franklin Road, there's at least a 10-foot landscape buffer along the backside of those lots that is going to be maintained and landscaped by the HOA along there.
I just thought it was interesting that it got to be 40 feet wide. It was almost like we wanted to maintain a straight edge.
Well,
there.
if you look at the section lines through there, the section line does a hard bearing break, which is common here in Arizona, and due to wanting uniformity in the lots, we wanted to keep them down there, which grew that open space area a little bit more.
That's what I figured. It was, like I said, just a curiosity question because it was just kind of an anomaly. That was it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
I have
Mr. Chairman.
I have a question. Oh, Mr. Pro?
Yes, question. I'm not sure this is appropriate for this forum, but one of the concerns I have is improvement of Hunt Highway from Arizona Farms, east or west rather. As you know, what's the plan to improve Hunt Highway from Arizona Farms to Merrill Ranch Parkway? With this already, there's a lot of traffic on that road with the current population. With more growth planned with these two plats, I'm concerned about, it seems like this thing continues to be put off, improving Hunt Highway.
Well, and you're correct. It's not directly associated with this case, so I can only give you just a simple response. Is right now the county, we're working with the county because some of that is within their jurisdiction and some of it's in the town's jurisdiction, and programming some of that widening project. And it'll even go further south to all the way to Attaway Road at some point.
Right. Yeah. So there's no time frame set for that improvement then?
I don't have it off the top of my head. We can certainly research that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I have a question. This is something that's come up to me a couple of times now, and I need to put it to bed. We have a 40-foot right-of-way according to the PUD, and I've been told that that on-street parking, as a part of getting a 40-foot right-of-way, on-street parking was not to be permitted, and that Pulte would sign the area stating no parking. I've gone through the PUD. I can find a 40-foot right-of-way, but I see no mention about no parking. Is this an HOA thing or a contract thing? What's the deal with this? Does anybody know?
Oh, I'm not sure if Jared would want to jump in on this, but the original PUD allowed for a smaller right-of-way than what we would normally require. However, there is a public utility easement along both sides of that right-of-way that get us the full width of, the 50 foot that we normally have other places, and which we've had in like Mesquite Trails and other places. This was part of the PUD negotiation. As far as parking was concerned, the actual street cross section is the same, whether it's in this right of way or in a 50-foot right of way. The street cross section is the same. And according to what I understand from our town engineer, Chris Sullis, in a previous presentation to the commission, the parking is allowed in that scenario. But as far as any discussions or an HOA issue, that I'm not aware of any.
All right, so the correct answer is the PUD allows for a 40-foot right-of-way, but there is no requirement in the PUD or in the development contract, excuse me, that denies parking on the street.
No,
Would
not
be
that I have
correct in
seen.
saying that?
Yeah,
No.
not as I've seen or found, and nor is anyone else aware of it.
Okay,
Commissioner or Chairman Capranzo, just want to let you know that we recently, approximately a year and a half ago, increased our right of way from 40 foot to 42 foot. So all new right
I
of way.
did see that in his presentation.
Right.
Yeah, so all right of ways, all new right of ways are gone to a 42 foot right of way. So Pulte has agreed to not hold to the PUD, but to amend our right of way. And the reasons for that is back when we started this project, a 4-foot sidewalk is all that was required. Now with current ADA regulations, we need to have a 5-foot sidewalk
Right.
behind the curb and gutter. So the developer has worked with the town staff and town engineering and planning departments to proceed in getting us in code and in compliance and get us to that 5-foot sidewalk width. So all right of ways in local subdivisions are now 42 foot wide.
Great.
Hmm.
Okay, well, that answers it. Thank you, sir. I'll make a motion that we approve with, I don't know, was there
Lot 30.
regulations? Yeah. I gotta get to the right page. We approve with staff recommendation.
Mr. Chairman,
Preliminary plat for Anthem at Merrill Ranch Units 30A.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
can we add my recommendation as well, that we have the interconnectivity to the north?
please do it as part of seconding my motion.
I will second your motion with that addition. Thank you very much.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving right along. This, again, is a presentation to approve with conditions or deny preliminary plats at Anthem Merrill Ranch Units 30B. Is this going to be a mirror image?
Yes.
Okay, well,
The
Ms.
only difference
Benitez?
is there is
Good.
127 units.
Okay.
Hmm.
Anything special you want to tell us about it?
No, it's the same exact thing, other than the number of units.
Okay, well then I'll open it up to the commission. Questions, comments?
Yeah.
We got no's all around. Then can we get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion for approval of the preliminary plat for Anthem at Merrill Ranch Unit 30B with conditions from staff.
I have a second.
I'll second the motion.
So we have a motion by Vice Chair Frost, second by Commissioner Simmons. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. All right, this is a presentation, discussion of the draft redevelopment plan update for the town of Florence. Who gets to do this presentation?
Oh, I think I'll jump in on this one, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
This, of course, has been being worked on for some time with the town. Some of you have attended community meetings regarding the subject. We have our consultants on board, representatives of Planet. Leslie Dornfeld is the principal, and she'll be doing the primary presentation. Before we get started on that, though, just as a reminder, this is a mandate from state statute from 3 years ago. But Leslie will elaborate more on that. It'll be coming back to you at a subsequent meeting after tonight for request for you to recommend it onto the town council. A similar presentation was given to the HDAC last week. Boy, I'll tell you, my dates are all messed up. It was last week.
the
And
30th.
yeah, in order for, for the same thing, it'll go back to them for a recommendation also. And then at that point, it'll be scheduled for presentations to the town council and ultimately for a resolution adopting the plan. HDAC is obviously directly involved because the downtown and historic district is a significant part of the overall redevelopment plan. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Leslie, let her introduce herself and her team and share her screen so she can walk you through the presentation.
Ms. Thornfield.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Pronto, members of the commission. Before I start into this, just an overview of the redevelopment plan update, I just want to introduce some of our team members who are on the call as well. From AECOM, we have Jimena Atterbury, and Jimena and Bob Graham, who, as you know, is a historic preservation architect. Jimena is it's not just, but Jimena is a planner. Bob's historic preservation architect, worked together on the design guidelines and doing some of our plan graphics. And then also Jimenez from AECOM, Bob's from Motley Design, and then Christiane Quintans is from my office. And she helped us with a lot of the digital work on this plan and the plan layout as well. And as Larry mentioned, my name is Leslie Dornfeld, my firm's Planet. We're located, there's Christiane, in Phoenix. And we're just going to go ahead with this. So I'm going to share my screen. And so are you seeing the full, Christiane, the full, or are you seeing my view? Okay. So I'm just going to go through this update for you. First, just to remind you a little bit about the purpose of the plan. And one is, really the purpose of this plan was to really begin to promote a very vibrant and resilient redevelopment area. And although the impetus from the plan is state law, the timing of this plan is really great because we're really sitting on the cusp of what I would say is a real upward trajectory, a very steep upward trajectory of growth in the immediate area, especially with some of the new employers that are coming in. And so we talk about that a little bit in the plan. What we're hoping happens with this plan is, one, we get some new businesses and housing in the redevelopment area. Maybe it spurs some of this new investment, will spur some investment in existing buildings, making sure that we continue to celebrate the history of the area and support conservation of your existing historic assets. We don't want to lose any more of those. And hopefully that will be a byproduct and also bring more visitors into the redevelopment area. Why update the plan now? Larry mentioned that we've got Arizona statute that is behind us. And we just wanted to let you know that this update was done in conformance with state law. Why do we want to have this update? I mentioned some of that. A lot has occurred since your last update of the plan. One is, the recession. Your old plan was done prior to the recession. The recession did change a lot, in particular growth projections. It kind of adjusted them. Your town did a North End framework plan. It's a very extensive plan for that North End area, and we need to think about that as we go forward as well. You've got Nicola and Lucid coming in, as well as all of the support businesses, and that should bring over 4,000 employees to the area. And I know that Nicola continues to struggle, but the reality is they're continuing to employ. And then also the state prison complex is closing, and that's helping to take away potential revenues from employees that might work at the state prison, potentially visitors that might drive through the downtown on their way into seeing family at the prison as well. So there is a lot of influences that are going to impact the downtown and the redevelopment area. Just wanted to give you a quick reminder of the planning process that we used. It's really kind of 4 phases. It was listening and learning, analyzing and evaluating what we learned, then developing some plans and policies, and then finalizing the plan. The planning process included 3 community meetings, a couple of briefings, one to the HDAC. If you remember, we had right in March, literally right before the shutdown, we had a community meeting where many of the council members attended. Some of you may have attended that as well, and where we looked at design and building types. We talked about the land use plan. We also had organizer of the Safford downtown come and talk to you as well at one of your, I think it was a council meeting, and talk about how Safford really got their feet under them and got that historic downtown revitalized. And some of the messages we learned from them and what the town wanted was a plan that didn't lay everything at the foot of the town, but that really looked to some of the merchants and landowners to be a part of this strategy to get the downtown back on its feet. Once we kind of made it to a draft land use plan and we got some understanding and agreement about the types of design that would be appropriate, we developed our design guidelines, and then we moved and created this draft plan. And what you're seeing now is what I'd call the draft final plan. The products that we've given you are two. There is a PDF version or an online PDF and a printable version of the plan that I believe you got in your agendas. I'm not quite sure, but you may have also gotten a link to the plan, an online link. And that's really what I wanted to kind of move forward with now. Sorry, you just heard me knock over my glasses. I took care of that link and moved us onto it. But that link is sort of giving you a novel and interactive product. Here we go. That's the redevelopment plan. Can you guys, has it come up? See this on your screen? So this is your redevelopment plan. And I'm sorry, let me just move this to the screen so that I face you. There we go. Okay, so now I'm looking at you. And so the plan has 4 main sections. This is our update. You can post this on the web. What's very cool about this plan is you can make updates in real time. So should any of the maps or land uses change, you can just change them in real time on the plan, and the plan is updated. The plan has, as I said, 4 sections. And as this little blurb says, if you want a printable version, if you're not someone that's into the online kind of stuff, you can get that version from About This Update. I'll just tell you in advance, we have some limitations to this software. You're one of the first, I think, jurisdictions in the state to do a plan this way. We're doing a couple of other plans like this for some other clients, but you guys are leading the pack. The software is only a couple of years old, and so it doesn't allow us to put a link to a printable plan here on the front page. So we have to, unfortunately, do it from within the document. So if you click on About This Update, it's kind of the beginning of the plan. It tells you about the update. It didn't, hold on a minute, you guys. I'm going to stop sharing. You share. There we go. Better? We're back? Okay. So you click on that section, you get to About This Update, and all I'm doing is scrolling down with my mouse. But here's for those folks that want to download and print the plan. It's an interactive document. And we're just waiting a little bit for this to load. Here it comes. So the first part of the plan helps people navigate online. And we explain to them how they can use the plan online. One of the cool things about this software is being able to navigate in the plan maps. So for example, if you're interested in a piece of property right over here, you can just increase the map. You can click on the property and information about the property will pop up. So it's a really great tool. It allows a user to see zoning or anything else it wants to see. Legends for all of the maps are also online. It also allows us to do before and after comparisons, which I'm trying to get done now, but my computer's a little slow. But you can slide this slider one way or the other and see in before and after images. And all of these things are located within the document. And then finally, there are lots of links within the document. And this, again, brings you back to the beginning. But it allows us to link other documents online in this online document. So that's basically some of the things that you'll be seeing us do through this project. The plan talks about acknowledgements. Here are acknowledgements to the plan. And then a table of contents. And each of these sections are clickable. So you can just go directly to the section from the table of contents. Then we talk a little bit about the update, why we're doing it. We've reviewed that information already, the authorities of the plan. And then here's, for example, part of the interactive. You can click on any one of these links and go to any one of these documents. Again, you want to change out a link, change out a document. It's quite easy. And then we talk a little bit about the public outreach process. You might notice as I scroll down the document, each of these little areas gets underlined. This allows you to jump to any place within the document. So you don't have to kind of scroll down if you don't want to. So I'll just begin now to talk a little bit about the process and go really more into the content of the plan. We did do a site walk where we walked the site with town staff and really began to look at what happened. We talked about some of this in the process slide. We had focus groups where we talked to different community members about different areas of the planning process. We had community meetings as well. And then we also had an online community survey to which we got 32 responses. So there was a fair amount of community input into the development of the plan. We'll go to the next section of the plan, which is about the redevelopment area. And I'm just letting you know, this is a little slow because we've been struggling with Cox, but we've got a lot of, we're using a lot of bandwidth right here, right now between Zoom and this. So I'm sorry for the slowness to this thing loading. But here again are the different sections within this part of the document. We talk a little bit about the history of Florence. Waiting for the photo to load. It should. Come on, photo. Let's see if we can.
Staff can attest that this does work. We are just, it's just a matter of, like she said, bandwidth at the moment.
Yeah, we've got Christiana's, we've just got a ton of people using our online stuff right now. So anyway, hopefully this will load up a little quicker, but there's a great little image here for history. And then as we go forward, this is an interactive map. I'm just gonna have to wait. Come on, little guy.
Just to clarify, do you want commissioners to give you questions during the presentation or at the end?
Up to you guys. How do you want to handle it? Here, I think one of them is Commissioner Pronto. We can hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Commissioner Pronto?
I'm back.
Good. Okay,
I
so
lost
here's the
audio for a
historic.
moment.
Sorry about that. Here's the historic district boundaries loading. Again, hopefully this will load a little faster. Here we go. It's coming. So here's our historic district. Again, this talks about the different properties. You can click on any one of these and hopefully, if my system wants to work, here it goes. You can get information about the properties. Here it comes. So that'll give you information about that property. Sorry. Let's go back. So here you can see this is the address. That's the architectural style when it was built. And then other information. And this is from your historic database. So as the town goes ahead and updates its historic database, it can provide more and more information about these buildings. We talk a little bit about the resources of the historic district in the plan and what's been important. This map, this section begins to talk about the regional context, the location. Again, you can zoom in or out on this map. Some of the influences, the north-south corridor, for example. There's a link to detailed information on the north-south corridor. We talk about employment. It's important to note that the Sun Quarter is a really burgeoning area. And so one of the things that our context tries to share with people is that, while you're sort of at the end of the road in terms of you're not right on the freeway on the interstate, the area around you is growing rapidly, and there's really an opportunity to take advantage of that growth for this area. There's a lot of employment coming to the area. We talk about that. And then we talk about your trade area, which is really quite large. And that's where people shop and spend money. We talk about various growth scenarios for the town and also about housing units. And most of this really lays the groundwork for us to say that there really is a lot of opportunity for food and services and food and beverage stores. And this analysis was completed by the economist at our AECOM partner. And then also that tourism is important. And so, what we tried to do is point out some of the tourist attractions and tourist items that occur within this area. Then we talk a little bit about the redevelopment area and the social and physical factors, where it's located, the boundaries of the redevelopment area. Again, all of these maps allow you to, zoom in and zoom out. I'm just not going to do a lot of it because of bandwidth. Information, that's the boundary of the map. Access, where the redevelopment area is, you can see it here. The demographics of the redevelopment area, that it's a really small portion of your population. The age, education, income levels. And again, the redevelopment area is typically less educated and lower income. And then home values. And I think this is a really important thing to look at, is the redevelopment area comparatively is incredibly affordable right now. And again, when you think about that in terms of regional growth and employment growth, people look to save money on housing. And it's a great area. It's got a school, it's got a park, it's got some historic base. It really is an opportunity that really deserves focus. And then we also have current land use. Again, one of the wonderful benefits of this map is we've got the legend for land uses, but you're interested in any particular property, you can click on it and gives you a ton of information from the assessor's files about that land use. Also land ownership, and there is quite a bit of everything that's blue is public land owned, and then the red is mostly private land owned. We've got a green is school, but you can see there's a fair amount county land, state land within this area. So that's kind of, okay, so now here's everything we know about the redevelopment area. What should we think about as we go forward? Most of this information came from the focus groups that we had and from the community meetings we had. Mostly, none of this is going to be new to you, but there's a shortage of apartments. It needs gathering places. Some of the building conditions stops people from wanting to invest. It needs some more leadership in the downtown. It needs to look a little better. It needs some better access. And people we really need to promote tourism. And I'm just giving you the broad overview of these. But there were some also additional considerations that we felt as planning consultants that we should bring to the forefront, in addition to the ones that we commonly hear from the community. One is we do think that we need increased access from Anthem. It's an opportunity, maybe not only leveraging access from the planned north-south corridor, but access straight across from Anthem across the river. There's an opportunity here for younger populations to look at a more experiential dining and retail experience. You guys tend to show younger in age, but I think that's because when you look at census data, the prison population's included, and I think they trend younger. But having said that, most of the growth in the area is going to be from people that are younger, that are working in the high-tech fields, that are working for Atessa, they're working for Lucid, they're working for Nikola. And the kinds of things these guys really like are kind of, restaurants and breweries and places to hang out and drink coffee. Florence offers a lot of opportunity for that. The trade area is not lacking for finances. They have good incomes, and the jobs that are coming are high-paying jobs, and they're high-quality jobs, and they're high education jobs. So you really have all of the opportunity to cater to a new demographic that's coming into the trade area. And then housing, as you saw in our existing conditions, there's a huge gap in housing prices between the redevelopment area and the surrounding area. You're much more affordable than Coolidge and Casa Grande and even Santan Valley. So here's an opportunity for the downtown to begin to look at how can we begin to attract people and let them see the value in the downtown and the value in downtown housing. And then finally, land ownership. I pointed out in the land ownership map that a large amount of land is owned by public sector entities, and it is. And while we don't think that redevelopment should be laid at the feet of those entities, these public sector entities typically have more capacity in terms of knowledge, information, and resources to begin to get people organized and getting them work together to leverage the downtown resources. And we do think that that's an opportunity. And this is public sector land. Why shouldn't it be made valuable? Finally, we think that destination tourism is a huge opportunity. There's an opportunity maybe to work with other regional attractions to do like a one-day event or a weekend event where you can pool your resources and really advertise the downtown. The museum also attracts quite a few visitors into the downtown every year. And we think it's an opportunity that could get leveraged. So this is the actual plan. So now we've kind of talked about opportunities, where we are. Here's the actual plan. And oh, look, we're doing better with timing. Yay. So the redevelopment plan consists of these sections of priorities that we created districts. We have a land use map. We describe those land uses. We have goals and strategies for the land uses, but also goals and strategies that address the plan priorities. So here's the focus of the plan. Again, to really, this is not a plan focus, and that's what really we talk about. The plan focus is pretty much south of what I call the flag in the north area. There are 4 priorities that guide the redevelopment plan. There they are: history, identity, economy, and community. And those priorities came right out of the community meetings that we talked about. When we look at the plan, there's really 4 districts. This north area district here, and you can click on these buttons if you want and get a zoom in onto the district. The historic district, the central district, and then the gateway district. And I want to talk a little bit about the gateway district. The gateway district lies outside the technically adopted redevelopment area. So it's not part of the redevelopment area, and that redevelopment area itself has certain privileges that are attached to it. But we felt that it's really the gateway to the downtown. And so it was really important to include in the plan. To just pretend it wasn't there or to ignore that opportunity, we think did a disservice to all of the opportunities in the downtown. So this is the redevelopment area land use map, and you can see the land uses that are here. Anything in pink exists as single family residential. We created some land uses that more or less are affiliated with each of the character districts, because we felt that the character of the districts did differ as you move from north to south or south to north through the downtown. So I'll work from north to south. In the historic district, we wanted to preserve existing single family residential. There's a land use category we call historically compatible commercial, which is really to make sure we keep that Main Street character intact. It's really important. And then there are some civic and public uses as well. So the bulk of the land uses are that we do have a couple of opportunity parcels that you'll see are yellow here. Blow that up a little bit so you can see it. And these opportunity parcels we're looking at for medium density residential. And this is, again, part of our approach to get more people downtown. The way you get more people downtown is to create a market base by getting more housing downtown. And we'll talk about what that housing can look like a little bit later. In the central district, you'll see mostly, sorry, here. Come on, little guy. In the central district, again, you know, we want to preserve that single family residential. Our goal is not to displace people. But to really do as much as we can to, again, increase densities on some of these larger and potential redevelopment parcels, not only adjacent and that have frontage on Main Street, but that also kind of reach back into the back of the redevelopment area. So these are the predominant uses in the central district. And then we have a land use category that we call gateway district land use. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the descriptions for each of the land use categories. A second to load here. So here's where we describe what we're envisioning for each of the land use categories. For each land use category, we identify the appropriate zoning. And so for single family, some of it does fall in the historic district overlay. This is what we're envisioning for medium density residential. I want to let you know that these are images that are photoshopped onto the downtown. So this is exactly what this could look like in downtown. And so you can see it really blends in quite well. It's not really an eyesore. It's not something that would kind of blow you out of the water if you saw it. This would be along Main Street. This is another historic building, and this is what we kind of are calling historically compatible commercial. Here are all the different kinds of zoning that you could use in this district. And then the downtown commercial district, this is not a photoshopped one, but the idea was to allow either offices or residential uses within this area on the second floor while maintaining that downtown storefront facade. And all of these buildings exist actually within the Phoenix metro area. A lot of these come from the Roosevelt Historic District in Phoenix. And then the Gateway Mixed Use District, which could be a variety of things, but what we're envisioning is something that when you get to the triangle or what will be the circle, the people recognize they're coming into a place where there's shopping, there's activity, and there's life. And then you have civic and public and institutional uses throughout the downtown. So the goals and strategies for the land use map. And these are really to help us accomplish the specific land uses that were identified, are described in the plan. And I'm not going to repeat them all for you because a lot of it I already talked about in the land use. But anyone reading this can, just associate with the number or hear and look for the number, and they can begin to see the different types of goals and strategies. So for example, and I'll just pick the first one, this piece here in the middle and what we're calling the central district, number 17, we think is a tremendous opportunity for residential uses and to begin to make that happen. And if I remember properly, and Larry, please correct me, that you're already talking about doing that with someone, am I right?
Yeah, that's correct. There have been some recent inquiries to those properties.
Yeah, so it's a real opportunity site. So you can see all these different strategies, restoring and upgrade existing housing, and all of these are referenced to various sites in some cases, or just general strategies. So for example, Western Crossings, number 16, I know that Larry said they're already talking about that, where there's no activity on that one, it's 15, I'm sorry, that we're talking about, the town is talking about getting to move forward. So, not only within the exact boundaries of the redevelopment area, but even on the edges, let's begin to activate these sites, begin to wake these developers up to the opportunities that exist and say, hey, you guys, time to refocus on the downtown.
So excuse me for a moment, Larry. So Larry, how do you respond to those inquiries? You said there's inquiries as to, interest in this development. How do we respond to those people that are inquiring about that?
In that particular case, Commissioner, it was the property owner himself. Came in and wanted to talk about what kind of development would the town be interested in seeing in those areas. It's already zoned for duplex, triplex townhouses. And so, it's a logical extension of that, but we didn't get in as deep as densities and those types of things at this point. But in a lot of cases, it's the property owners who are very interested in to know what they can do with their property, because the market in this area is starting to get pretty hot.
So are they encouraged by, the dialogue between you and they with respect to, to what the opportunities are? Do they take it to another step, or they get back to you? How does it?
Well,
How do we move this?
this is a business that takes time. Most of these companies or most of these landowners, this is not necessarily their single tract of property someplace. So
Oh.
everybody's feeling it out right now. After the crash of
Age.
08, 09 period and the recovery since then, everybody's been kind of very cautious moving forward. But now we're getting into a seller's market situation. If you've been following any of the real estate trends across central Arizona, especially. And so it's becoming more and more prevalent that we get contact by property owners on what they can do. And so, yes, they do seem to be encouraged, but this isn't necessarily going to be their sole piece of property that they're inquiring about. And it's not just for residential. We've had meetings for even certain types of commercial uses as recently as yesterday.
Oh,
So
great.
in around the core. This is specifically about the core I'm referring to now more than anything else.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and so just to kind of build on what Larry said, that's, kind of going back to what we said in the beginning, we really think this is an opportune time for you to have rethought the downtown, because now you really have a program going forward. Someone comes in, you're like, oh yeah, this is what we want. Or, oh, nah, not really. So hopefully this will help you do that. The second goal is to begin to bring commercial uses that'll bring people into the downtown. You can see this goal relates to the gateway area. We also have some other goals, the historic Women's Club building, which is up here, getting that redone. It's a fabulous building. It offers a lot of opportunity. And then also another goal that we have is beginning to enhance connectivity in the downtown. And so we have some specific recommendations, but one of the things is there's some real opportunities to connect the county complex through its parking lot to the downtown, so that instead of folks just getting in their car for lunch, maybe they'll begin to walk, and also connecting the Little League Park, which brings people to the downtown to the main street. So people maybe will walk over instead of just getting in their car and driving home.
Okay.
Another goal, it's a land use goal, is working with the owners of the vacant land to create sites that are attractive to higher density residential development. You do have some opportunity sites in the downtown. We identified them on some of those goals, and we do think that higher density development could really bring more people downtown. One of the ways to do it might just be to start marketing the downtown to local real estate and brokerage entities, and let them know that, hey, Florence is here, we're really well located, we're really well priced, and you got people that are going to be wanting jobs. I look up every once in a while, I look up Lucid and I look up Nikola, and if you look on their job sites, they are hiring.
Yeah.
So these people are coming, they're coming. So these are now the visions and strategies to get to our priorities. So one is making sure that we protect the history and we encourage new development in our historic area. Let's give us one little second here, and hopefully this guy will come on, Edmund. Kind of
Leslie, while you're waiting for that to download, just to go back to the Commissioner Prowse question previously, and just to reinforce what I was saying earlier too. It just came to my attention earlier this week, for example, that we have an absentee property owner that has at least 5 different properties in the core area, several of which we have been in constant code compliance issues with. I was informed earlier this week, they are all going on the market. They're going to be available. Some of them are vacant properties, some of it's residential, some of it's commercial, but they're seeing that they're tiring of being cited by us, but also secondarily, they see the market. The market is there right now, and they're willing to start moving their properties. They see the interest in the core area of the town.
Oh, that's encouraging. Okay.
So here are some of the goals and strategies for history, and I know we're going long, so I'm going to try and just move faster. Just interrupt me if I'm jumping over too much. And this is online. You can access it through your website. So if you want to peruse it at your leisure, it's there. One of the goals is to preserve historic landmarks. And, one of the strategies we're suggesting is appointing a historic architect. And I think Kathy heard this at the last meeting and was quite vocal about putting an exclamation point after that. Some of the other strategies, making sure we deal with maintenance, looking at some of the buildings that are threatened and maybe try and figure out a way to bring some attention to them so they're protected. This is a picture of a redevelopment that's actually going on in the downtown. You've got a couple of small real estate developers that want to renovate houses for rentals. And this is an example of one that they were doing. And they let us come in and take some pictures of it. They really are gutting it and totally redoing it. They're doing a really fun job. But one of the things that they complain about, as most small developers do, are regulatory barriers. So, maybe just take a look and see how we can make that happen and make it easier for folks. In the identity vision, our vision priority, branding the downtown. Maybe the brand could be the real Southwest. You are a really authentic downtown. And it does bring people to see it. You're on the way from Sky Harbor down to Tombstone. You're really kind of a scenic route. There's an opportunity there. Getting a logo so that people see it, Florence, the real Southwest, that really, really bangs it into people. And I looked at some other downtowns and they do this. I actually stole this idea from another downtown for your logo. So there's an opportunity. And then also some signing, historic downtown Florence on some of the main routes so people know that it exists. Making sure development is appropriate to its context. And that really talks to the town site stuff and and the redevelopment area design guidelines that are in this plan. And I'm going to have Bob and Jimena talk to those a little bit later. Getting a consistent streetscape. And so you see these lines here. Let's get the legend up. Come on, legend. Here it is. So we have some what we're calling priority, which would be the red ones, phase 1 kinds of streetscape. And then what I'm calling the yellow ones are secondary conditions. And then opportunities. And then blue, what we're calling opportunity driven, which would mean they'd occur with development. This is an existing bike lane. This is a state bike route. So, to me, personally, I think you should shift the bike route onto Main Street, but that's, why should they bypass the downtown? But here are some ideas that you could do, maybe at Butte, Maine, doing some banners. I don't know if any of you know yeah? Oh, I don't know if any of you know the big gateway they have on McDowell Road that announces it. I have to say, I was one of the people when they first put it up, it was like, oh, but it's good. It announces that area, and that area is revitalizing. We all of these are working within your existing right-of-way. They wouldn't require additional right-of-way. One of the things that I think could be really cool is, Windmill Winery is just over a mile from the downtown. That place is a money machine. And they have tons of people that come there every year. A lot of them stay at the Green Tree. Well, when you look at connections, maybe just creating a painted bike lane. Everybody has just these bikes for use now, just laying around their towns. Maybe Windmill keeps bikes at Windmill and you work with them to do that. And you paint a bike lane on the street that's really cool and fun between Windmill and the downtown. And people just get on a bike and drive downtown. And it's a really good way to bring people in and incorporate art and mark the downtown and celebrate the history of Florence. Paint is cheap. And I might say we did something like this, and Bob will remember, we did this at Grand Avenue. And when we did some of the initial, he's smiling because we did some of the initial research into it, we kind of wanted to do like guerrilla painting where we just did it without even talking to the city. And we learned we could get arrested. So what we did is we went and bought washable paint from Home Depot and demonstrated how cool it could be. And what did the city do? They went ahead and did it on their own. So these are really wonderful opportunities to make things happen. Paint is cheap. Another kind of idea would be to connect that Little League Park. Here's an idea of how maybe one of these local roadways could work. Just do some trees and shade, maybe a colored sidewalk that connects it to the downtown. So people know that, hey, this is a different kind of a walkway than I would normally see. And then this is when, if you remember, I talked about creating a consistent connection through the city parking lot. And this area is getting rebuilt now. But if this is just a parking lot, if maybe we created some kind of a shaded pedestrian way through that parking lot, and I think this is 13th Street actually, and I don't know if it's been abandoned, we would begin to mark the connection from that county building to the downtown. Again, just trying to pull more people downtown any way we can, just so that they understand that there's a there. Again, you know, this Butte Main Street idea. And then the ninth goal would be ensure new development enhances existing neighborhoods. This is another Photoshop. These buildings actually exist in Phoenix, but again, new development, low scale, can really work with what you have within the downtown, and it wouldn't really be an eyesore. It wouldn't necessarily block views or look like you're turning into something that you're not. Some of the goals to help you establish your economic vision priority. It's coming. I think. I'm going to learn how to tell like lounge jokes for the council hearing so that we don't lose too many people. Here we go. So one is reducing the cost of redeveloping in the downtown. Again, this is one of your buildings downtown. This picture was taken like 3 months ago. People are doing stuff. But we do want to eliminate any of those fees that would be associated with rezoning to either multifamily residential or that downtown commercial zone. It's just an incentive. It is difficult to develop those historic buildings. Anything we can do to reduce costs would be welcome. And so I think that would be one easy thing to do. Growing a local market for the downtown. I've been talking about this throughout the plan process. Do as much as we can to get people into that downtown, encouraging low intensity multifamily, maybe going to the human resources departments of Tessa, of Lucid, of Nicola, and talking to them about the housing opportunities downtown. So when they hire someone from the Valley or somewhere out of state, they can say, yeah, you know, Florence is really affordable. It's kind of up and coming. It's kind of a cool place. You know, let them hand the flyer out to that person. Maybe they'll come. Beginning leveraging existing businesses to attract new businesses. One, working with the Windmill Winery to open a tasting room. I know they looked at that at one point in time and backed off it, but there's certainly possibly an interest there. Also working with the Green Tree. The Green Tree is booked most all the time. And not only from weddings, but there's a parachute or a flying school in the area. All of the students stay there. And the constant complaint we hear from the Green Tree is that their clients say there's not really anywhere to walk. And so, you know, again, working to promote some of these businesses, maybe working with the Green Tree where if the Green Tree knows it's having a big event, maybe one of the local restaurants that's in walking distance stays open a little later or offers some kind of a discount. Trying to begin to make that synergy happen. Working with local artists and crafting clubs, that actually came from one of your council members. You know, there's so many crafters in Anthem. Why don't we have a crafting club that's located downtown and maybe they get together and even sell their crafts, or it brings them downtown and maybe they'll buy a cup of coffee. And again, trying to see who maybe would expand downtown, tell our local success stories outside of the downtown. And that would be by that would help raise the profile, document these things. And then also get your council much more engaged. One of the things that came out loud and clear from all of our community meetings is that downtowns throughout the state are successful because it is job one of the councils to promote them. And they are out there talking about their downtown day in and day out. Chandler, that's all they do is talk about their downtown. Safford, the same thing. So maybe by raising the profile of the downtown by regular reporting or more aggressive reporting to the council, it'll keep that on top of mind so that they continue to recognize that it's their job to help promote the downtown. Working with local developers to reach out to employers, and then also presenting about the downtown assets at regional forums. And then again, working with downtown retail businesses for a consistent set of hours. That I know is one of the most important things. If someone comes downtown, they want to know they can shop downtown. Increasing the number of visitors. This was maybe using, and I think this one may not be as relevant anymore, but doing something with that historic theater site. It's like an empty tooth in the downtown. It needs to be programmed and used consistently. Maybe doing, I know that you already have the movies in the park, but maybe we show them on one of the walls in that downtown theater site and kind of begin to reuse it. Make things happen. You did third Thursdays. I've heard it's now moved to Fridays. So we'll change that, but making sure you continue that event.
Third Fridays.
And then also making sure we coordinate regionally. We talked a little bit about that, but making sure that ADOT has that north-south corridor. Florence needs to be something that they think about when they put that in. This corridor cannot bypass Florence. It needs to have an access point that makes access to downtown Florence easy. And that will be a gold mine, because that not only provides access from a regional basis, it provides people that want to live downtown an easy route to get jobs in the valley, to their job in the valley. Working to create an Old West weekend, maybe where you put events across all different entities and local entities, that you coordinate them so that there's a lot more mass and it attracts visitors. And positioning yourself as a tourist destination, you probably should do a visitor study to make sure what you really need to invest in. And then also diversifying the downtown so that you attract a wider range of visitors. And a clientele that's a little bit interested in possibly more than Western history. And I know Larry cannot believe that anyone would like not be totally focused on Western history, but you know, the bigger, you know, if you want to take your family downtown, a kid's going to say, Mom, it's boring. There's nothing for me to do there. Or, you know, the wife might say to the husband, you know, honey, I don't want to go to downtown Florence. It's a bunch of old buildings and no place fun to shop. So by diversifying that historic experience and the offerings, you begin to attract a more diverse, you know, portfolio diversity, a more diverse crowd, and you become a more viable tourist attraction. The last priority, I think, is community. And, you know, one of the things I'll say is kind of interesting is, as we did walk through the downtown, and we did it a few times, the downtown community does need to get pulled together, and it does need advocates, not only in the downtown and not only the Historic Preservation Commission, but Florence as a whole needs to pull together for this downtown. The residents, the businesses, the electeds, the appointeds. It really needs to be a concerted effort. And when we look across the boards at other successful downtowns, it was a concerted effort. All resources need to be brought to bear. This is not an easy job. It's a very complex and multifaceted job. One is continuing to connect people to place. Events are great. Events. And I know that during COVID, this is hard, but you know, a vaccine is coming. I know a lot of places that do virtual tours. I think you're doing some of that now, do virtual events. You know, even if it's 15 people, one of those 15 people is part of a Kiwanis group, and they say, hey, you know, I did this virtual event in downtown Florence. It was kind of cool. You know, it's 30 more people that know. Linking the town's website to the Chamber of Commerce website and to the town website, you know, downtown Florence, see downtown Florence. So anytime you think of Florence, you're getting hit with the downtown. You know it's the downtown. A downtown adopt-a-park program to help with maintaining the Little League and Padilla parks. Those are really important parks. One of the things that's very cool about your downtown is there's so much green space in it. You are truly a little bit of the desert oasis. You've got Heritage Park, you've got Padilla Park, you've got Little League Park, you've got the Little Main Street Park, all of these things strung together with this big green space at the bottom from the school. It's really a lovely environment, and connecting that with some trees and shade could just create a great place to come and walk. Maybe create a Downtown Florence Alliance Association, which really has a focus on revitalizing Main Street. That would be different than the HDAC. It's really a different kind of a group that's really focused on economic development. It would support the HDAC, it would work with the HDAC, but you know, it has a different mission. And then also maybe as part of this group or as a separate thing, catalyze community activism by maybe holding regular downtown meetings. You know, and maybe the first time one person shows up or no one shows up, But maybe by the 10th time, you finally get a group of residents that are really interested in their downtown and really focused on what they can do to make where they live a better place. And that's your base right there. Enhancing your community through upkeep and maintenance, continuously, working with building and homeowners. And I know that you do this already, but that you just can't let up on that. It's just an ongoing thing you need to do. And then connect to some of the assets and the resources outside the downtown. You've got the CAP trail system, you've got along the Pinell County Cap. That's, another way you can just put information about the downtown on their site. The Gila River Trail, and then there's the Poston Butte Preserve. So again, just advertising the downtown and connecting the downtown to all of these types of things. So the last part of this plan is, aside from the goals and strategies and land uses, the redevelopment area design guidelines. And I'm going to give a broad overview of these, but then I'm going to let Bob, you want to just do it, or do you want me to kind of start and you want to kick in?
You go ahead and start. I'm not sure where you're going with it.
Okay. Okay. So first, I want to give a lot of credit to both Jimena and Bob. They really are the ones that put these together. And as I mentioned, we divided the downtown into 3 basic districts. Those districts not only help us understand the land uses and the goals for land use, but they also guided our design guidelines. And it's because we do think there are different characters for each of these districts. So again, you click on any of these blue buttons to get to the design guidelines. And so we'll just start with the historic area. And the HDAC has seen this and looked at it. And Kathy, if I misspeak, I know you'll speak up as well. So basically, there's a variety of types of buildings in the downtown. And let me just say another thing. You already have design guidelines for your historic district. What these do is add and refine to what you have there by focusing on new development. The guidelines you've adopted apply to existing historic structures. This is focused on new development, so the new development we get in is appropriate to the context and character of each of the areas, but it doesn't create an onerous situation where someone says, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't recreate a historic building and recreate the historic design of that building. It's designed to give the developer a little bit of flexibility, but some strong guidance. So there are basically 3 types of buildings that we've identified. And then within the historic district, 3 types of land uses or character areas. So the Main Street Commercial District is basically between on Main Street. And it's really those lots that front on Main Street. The transition zone is sort of Main Street as you move to the very south end of the district on Main Street. So as the closer you get to Butte, the less cohesive that historic character is. There's more holes in it. And then the periphery, everything around it, the housing and the vacant lots and those other buildings. And again, that's within the historic district of our land use area. So the types of buildings within this district is a commercial storefront building, and I'm going to show you how this slider works. You can see what we're looking at, what we like. You can see what's there now. So here's what one of these buildings.
Leslie, I think you froze up.
A loser?
Yeah, we lost her.
Yeah.
I've got the image.
Sorry, Leslie's audio may have frozen, so we're going to resolve that. 1 second.
I'm sure she's frantically trying to get back online.
Hmm.
She is reconnecting as we speak, so we should be seeing the screen pop up shortly when she's on.
While Leslie's trying to get back on, I'd like to note that our second alternate, Michael Vanderstar, has also joined us this evening. Welcome.
Oh, welcome. Can't hear you.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for the warm welcome. Happy to be here.
Yeah? No? Can you unplug yourself? 'Cause I don't
Yeah.
think you can hear me. You guys hear me?
Yeah, can't see you. There you are.
I see Larry.
We're gonna try and use my computer. Let me know if you hear.
Go all the way up. Just blow it all the way up. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
You hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. I know, right? I'm so sorry for that. Okay, we're good.
I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm back. Never mind.
This new technology is just weird.
Yeah, I am really sorry about that. Okay, hold on. Here I come back. Here we go. Can you see that? Can you guys see that?
Not yet. We've got
No.
you.
Still see you.
Oh, here we go. Okay, hold on. I gotta find it. Okay, share screen and share screen. Okay. All right, I'm not gonna look right at you. If it's okay with you guys, I'm gonna turn off my camera just so that there's not too much of a load on the. Right. Yeah. Okay. So here's this vision for a commercial storefront. Again, here's where this building type could occur. On this left-hand side, you'll see other visions for this type of a building. And then here's the information on how this building should be designed. And then hopefully you'll see this example come up. Just gonna see if it'll bring itself up. Did everybody freeze again? Okay. So hopefully once this starts ginning, and again, I really have to apologize to you. This is our internet connection. Here we come. Maybe. Okay, so there was a guy that walked into a bar.
Yeah.
Oh, I am sorry. No. Because it just uses more bandwidth. I'm almost wondering if you should shut your Zoom off and just sit here with me. Or not your Zoom, but your, well, no. Whatever else you're doing, just shut it down. Okay. Yeah. Not happening. Here it comes. One more time. Okay, you know what I'm going to do instead? Just occurred to me. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this one is an example of what it would look like. Oh, we're getting there. Yay. One more second. Close these down. Sorry, guys. Here we go. So here's an example of what setbacks would look like. You're seeing what we're trying to do is make sure we maintain that building to the street, to the pedestrian. And again, some specific design guidelines, what might work, what might work. And then again, some of these sliders that show different kinds of storefront elements that could work. We talk about signing, lighting, parking, mechanical equipment screening, openings, fair amount of detail. The one-story courtyard building, again, this is another example of what those would be. Just another kind of quick example. And I think what, Bob, what you were saying is something about, how this could be built new. right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So the point is that it's fairly straightforward what you do on Main Street, since it's a commercial storefront type of arrangement, where everybody's where you were trying to reinforce a street facade. But outside of that, in the areas we're calling a transition zone or the periphery, what do you do? Because a facade building like that is really not appropriate. And so what we're trying to do is set some examples of some building forms that would fit in with the kinds of things that are already there. And there's really two kinds of buildings that dominate Florence. There's the Sonoran tradition, which is what you see with the adobes that tend to be built around courtyards. They tend to be internalized. They, stucco buildings with punched window openings. But then you've also got the more Anglo tradition that's a little bit more of an East Coast throwback or bring forward, whatever you want to call it, where it's like a building set back from the street that's outward looking as opposed to inward looking. So you have these two things in Florence. We don't want to dictate one or the other, I don't think. So what we've done is we've set up these two patterns and defined the patterns and said, well, within these specific areas, you've got some flexibility to pick one building form or another, and either one would fit, because what we want to preserve is the diversity of the streetscape in that area that's off of Main Street.
So then for the downtown central district, I'm going to close these out so that we don't have a lot of loading problems. Again, remember, this is where we're trying to push to the greatest extent possible more residential intensity, and also trying to keep that commercial street frontage so that people will shop in the downtown. And so here's a way that you could show different kinds of massing so that you didn't have everything dumped onto Main Street, and beginning to show some differences in facade breaks. In this area, not all the buildings are right up against the street. So, this allows us to create these buildings that might fit in a little bit better.
Yeah, so this is the area predominantly south of Butte along Main Street that we're talking about. And you perceive as you go south on Main Street that the facade line tends to kind of break up. And once you cross over Butte, it becomes much more irregular. And so, again, at the same time, we're trying to preserve that irregular character, because it is a character, even though it's not regular, it's a character that helps define what Florence is, while also meeting some of our other goals of trying to make Main Street walkable from one end to the other. And so we're trying to make sure that there's either structured shade coming off of buildings in the portions that are close to the street, or that we're encouraging landscaping treatments and things like that. Because right now, we took our site walk in a little bit warmer time of the year, and you really would appreciate some shade through there, and it would help Main Street become the corridor that really ties the north end and the south side together.
And so this purple area is the district we're talking about. Here are some other types of building types that we're thinking could work. General guidelines, and again, these were Bob and Jimenez's work. The idea of shading and frontages. And then when we begin to talk about residential and medium density, if you remember at the council, there was a lot of concern that buildings weren't too high and didn't disrupt the views, but you can really do a lot with residential use. You can really change the character. And here's a bunch of other kinds of buildings that are no more than 2-story that could fit quite well into the downtown, could really intensify the amount of residential within it. I mean, literally, you could add hundreds of units in the downtown, and that would really get people down there to begin to support those types of uses. The general guidelines, very clear site planning guidelines, facade guidelines, types of building materials we're looking at. Here's this idea with this kind of multifamily idea that really fits in with the types of buildings that already exist in the downtown. These are really different than what you've already got down there. And then the Gateway District design guidelines, again, just trying to come up with a way that really helps you recognize you're coming into the downtown. And just even, instead of driving by this, driving by something like this would totally change your entrance into downtown Florence. Here are some other ideas. This is the Gateway District for how development could occur. These housing units could also occur in the Central District as well along Main Street. But any of these types of developments would totally transform how you come into the downtown. Maybe some kind of a gateway structure, again, at the bottom of Main Street, so that people knew they were coming there. There was some kind of a marker, building form and facade, so that it made the walk a little more pleasant as you come from the downtown. I will tell you that if you're there during the school year when kids are actually in school, there are tons of kids walking from the high school to the park and to the library, tons of them. And so it's a real opportunity to begin to make that a nicer place and begin to make it a more attractive place. Another way you could have your downtown look. So those are our design guidelines. And so with that, that's our plan. Happy to answer any questions. Stop my share. And there's your online plan.
Okay, well then I'll open it up to the commission for any questions or comments. Gentlemen?
Oh,
Well, I'll start. That is an enormous amount of information. Far too much to be absorbed in one pass. Where is Our Lady? We lose her?
Who? Which
You.
lady, me?
There
Oh,
you
here.
are.
I just turned off my video because I was just fritzing out. No, I took a powder, Commissioner. Just
You were
decided to
freaking
take a
out, did
powder.
you say?
No, I was fritzing out. My screen kept on fritzing out. So I turned off
Okay.
my video so that I didn't overload everything, but I think we're okay now.
All right, good. You ready to talk?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. I'm a stakeholder south of the Gila, and I'm right in the redevelopment area. So this is very near and dear to my heart. And I'm going to talk about things that I feel motivate our senior management and council to take, to help set the table so that we have these investments. And some of it will be outside of it. So I'm just going to go through and give you my observations and ask you simple questions. Is that all right with you?
Sure.
Are you there, Ms. Dornfield?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I want to make sure that I'm talking to somebody. Now, I'm working off a PDF, okay?
Yeah.
So on page 7 under his historic district resources, in the middle of the paragraph, it says that the town relaxed the regulatory and code requirements within the historic district. I wasn't aware that they did that. Can you tell me what codes or requirements did they relax? Or maybe
No.
Larry will jump in on that.
I think we're recommending that. Tell me what page you're on again?
I'm on page 7 of your PDF.
Let me open the PDF for a second. Where's the PDF, Christine? Just tell me where it is. Is it in source out?
Part of that, Mr. Chairman, and actually maybe that should say 2019 rather than 2020. But when the adoption of the new building codes, the updated building codes, we did address certain things in the downtown related to certain types of improvements on the older buildings and adaptive reuse and things like that. To make it a little bit simpler or easier to rehabilitate buildings without necessarily hitting 100% of the building codes. Also, we've installed or have initiated the sprinkler program where somebody who's upgrading their building can apply for assistance from the town. We do have a budget for it in our CIP. And then other tools that haven't been used very much, but I'm sure you're aware that we've started using them more recently, such as the core infill incentive
Yeah.
district, where we're able to relax certain types of requirements by commission and council action to make it, again, easier to rehabilitate, update, build on vacant lots that are substandard, things of that nature.
How are we communicating that to potential investors?
Quite frankly, Mari can attest to this. I think I bring it up pretty much anybody we talk to when we run into an issue, because there's very few lots in and around the core area that don't have some type of issue associated with them.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. I mean, you know, when the town was laid out back in the 1800s, and we have some of the old Sanborn maps, if you were to compare those with the current layout of lots and street patterns and things of that nature, there's been some significant changes since back then, where streets were abandoned and
Right.
alleys were abandoned, but not in the traditional way where half of the property, half of the right of way went to one property on one side and the other half went to the property on the other side. Sometimes, it all went to one person or another for whatever political or whatever reason back in the day. So it's created a lot of non-conforming situations. I think the most interesting one that you've dealt with and the council dealt with was that lot up on Willow where which is now a fourplex, was a manor house, where the lot line actually ran 7 feet into the house.
Right.
We had to make those adjustments. I mean, that's a pretty severe case, but it is exemplary of some of the things that are occurring or have occurred in the downtown. And so we've been really initiating that particular tool and using it more and more.
And if I
Great.
could, Mr. Chairman, if I could also kind of add in, since I oversee the codes and everything else of this, is that one thing that we've done, and Larry had already started doing this prior to me getting there, was starting to use the existing building code a little bit more. One thing, as you know, I believe you know, I came from Kingman, and what we were able to do in Kingman downtown and revitalize Kingman by using the existing building codes, give us a little more latitude. Some of the area, and quite frankly, some of the stuff is each one's different. For instance, we've just been working when we opened up the soda shop or the ice cream shop. There was some challenges that we went through, but we were able to use the existing building code and get through some of those challenges, still give them a safe building, us a safe building, but was able to put them in there at a lower cost than what we would normally do with some of the other stuff. So that's one of the things that was important to Brent. Larry as well was in on my interviews, was that and what we were able to do, where I come from, and kind of the thought process I was bringing to our downtown here.
Okay, I'm going to move along because it's getting late and I know people are getting tired, but I don't want to miss this opportunity to talk to Ms. Dornfield. I'm going to go to the retail leakage and surplus on the PDF. It's on page 13. I'm interested to know what's the radius on this? Does it include Walmart and Safeway out of Coolidge and the Safeway Shopping Center in Anthem?
Yes.
Or is this strictly the downtown?
This is leakage from
I lost you.
Florence. So this is, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Back?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you now.
Trade area?
So this is simply the downtown. It does not consider a 15-minute drive.
No.
Coolidge?
It's the town of Florence. It's the town as a whole.
Okay,
think,
so
as
it
I recall,
includes,
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, as I recall, it was a 45-minute radius or 45-minute drive time radius, as I recall.
Right. So the way they calculate this is they look at this trade area, right? And they figure out sort of where people are spending their money. And the town of Florence, people are leaving town to spend their money on food and services and beverages from Florence to the tune of about $6 million a year.
Well, then I'm having trouble understanding this. Let's just look at something that under supply retail sales. We say gas stations are 0.
I'm just looking at this real quick.
Okay.
Gas stations, so the supply of, he wasn't really able to get those retail sales numbers in Florence for gas stations, but I believe
You
it is
couldn't
0.
back
I know there's
calculate the tax?
No, we were somewhat limited by scope and fee in what he could do. And there's only certain types of taxes. And when there's not enough establishments, they close out that number. You're not allowed to see it because then it becomes like proprietary information. So if there's only a couple of stores or a few of those opportunities, the state doesn't let you see it.
So
It throws it out.
I understand that Florence is leaking. There's no question about it. But the numbers are really not, they're not accurate.
Well, I'll address that with AECom and we'll pass that on to the economists. These are.
But I'd like them to put some language in here as to what this encompasses, because a 15-minute drive, I can be at Walmart and Safeway, and 15 minutes the other way, I'm at Safeway Shopping Center at Anthem. So I really need to know, you know, if I'm an investor, I really need to know what the shopping area is.
So
I
again, the area of the trade area is here, okay? That includes an area that's much larger than Florence.
I get that. I get that.
So what
But
this is saying is the town of Florence as a whole, the town, not the redevelopment area, the town. So if you're driving 15 minutes from downtown to Coolidge, that consists of a leakage. If you're driving 15 minutes into Anthem, it does not.
Okay.
And a lot of those numbers reflect the people in Anthem driving to Queen Creek.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they can be a little bit more explicit in the language that this reflects or was back calculated from the whatever tax receipts or wherever they got it from, but I need a unit of measure. Where did it come from and what does it include?
Okay.
This is 2017. Is that what the year? Am I seeing that? Am I looking at this chart correctly? It says 2017 industry group. Is that the chart that you're looking at?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's, I mean, a lot has happened in the last 3 years growth-wise in our area. So,
Yeah.
so there's you know, the demand number is increased by quite probably at least 20%. But anyway,
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and we recognize that too. This was done in early 2020, I believe. And so that may have been the most recent data available at the time.
Yeah, a lot of the data that you were able to access for this type of projections really lags as far as being able to get it from the state, you know, to have any kind of accurate representation. And a lag of a couple of years is not at all unusual. And like Leslie said, this was initiated the beginning of last year. And so, you know, that's the most recent data that we were able to acquire at that time.
Yeah.
And this is what was presented at the first community meeting also.
That's
And it was in a lot more detail at that point.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Okay, moving right along. We talked about access just for your own knowledge, Ms. Thornfield, and maybe Larry too as well. Not so many years ago, it was a very popular idea to extend Plant Road.
That's in the plan.
And that's still on
Yeah.
the books.
That's
Yes.
in the
Okay.
plan, and it's a recommendation of the plan.
And also, one of the things that we talked about to bring people out of Anthem into the main street was a branch connection off of Plant Road that we called the Riverside Drive. And
We
it-
didn't use that word, but it's in the plan. I think
Okay.
we had a different word, but yeah, that is in the plan. Absolutely, it needs to happen.
Okay, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about, oh, Larry's just gonna love me, Light Industrial Park. We have our general plan coming up, and we really don't have anything designated as accessible. And we have industry coming into Coolidge, and there should be ancillary businesses that open up to support that. I'd like to see Florence participate in that area.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So Commissioner
Mr.
Pranzo, you actually, I want hit the nail on the head, so to speak. One of the long discussions that we had as part of this process, and Larry will probably remember, and with our economist, is identifying a portion of this area for light industrial. He didn't feel that it would be the main deal because it's so far off of main transportation routes. And these types of uses really focus on reducing the time to market, so to speak, reducing the time to reach their supplier. And this is a little bit off the beaten path, the downtown. So he felt that the only real opportunity might be for some of those secondary types of support uses or real tertiary types of support uses that were more focused on local businesses that maybe would just travel a local road to a local manufacturer. So you do have Luke Nicola, and a Tesla is going to be a sports track. So I don't know what that's going to bring. But we did talk about creating some type of industrial park in what I call the flag in that north area. But I think ultimately it ended up getting taken out.
Yeah,
And
we
that's
do
just
have,
the north area plan.
yeah, to clarify a little bit, we do have, even in current zoning, industrially zoned property that is not owned by correctionals or the state. One piece is south of our wastewater treatment plant on Plant Road. There's a little bit over 40 acres right there. There is a PUD that was processed and approved many years ago out on, it connects from 287 to Adamsville Road, immediately east of the landfill. And then, of course, in the general plan, there's a significant amount of industrial shown further north within the town's planning area, but not necessarily in the town limits currently, up at the junction of the railroads, up
Pretty
north.
far out.
Yeah, but some of that is going to be revisited, but we are looking and we'll be working directly with our new economic development manager on where it's going to be the best location to kind of solidify land use projections and wants as far as the general plan is concerned. So we are looking at that very intently with the general plan update itself. The practicality or the appropriateness of industrial in the urban or in the revitalization area, redevelopment area is, kind of questionable if we're trying to promote pedestrian and housing and certain types of retail.
Right. I'm not so much interested in the industry in this venue as I am income. Income is a problem. Cash flow, which anyone who is sophisticated in investing will look at the cash flow available in Florence. What piece of the pie can they get?
Correct.
And the piece of the pie is small right now. So it's something that does need to, we need to provide opportunity to allow things to come into Florence that exports goods and services and imports dollars. That's my concern.
Correct.
All right, we beat that to death. Let's move on. Housing. Oh, I love this one. This is page 20, and in it we talk about the value of homes in the redevelopment area as compared to other homes in Florence. And this kind of jumps around because we talk about this on on page 20, then we talk about it again on page 25, and then we talk about it again on page 37. Now, I remember taking a leadership class some years ago, and it said, well, you got to say things 3 times before people hear it. And you did that. And now I understand it's up to 7 times. So that doesn't say much for us. But what you don't talk about is what's holding the price down. One of the things that strikes me as an investor is the material condition of the surrounding neighborhood. And we don't talk about that. We kind of do, but we tiptoe around it. Let me see if I can find the page. Yeah, I love this page. Page 51, where we say we're going to enhance community through upkeep and maintenance. We really need to beat the reader over the head. The material condition south of the Gila is poor, and it does make investors kind of shy away. Like, which way is this town going? Is it going up or is it going down? And again, my comments are pointed at senior management and council, a motivation type thing, where this really does need to be addressed. And I'm not talking about beating people over the head with ordinance or codes. I'm talking about a leadership position where people start taking pride in ownership and upkeep. Now, Ms. Dornfield's talked about that a lot, but we need a mechanism, but we need the words in here. 6 months from now, when somebody reads this thing and we don't have Ms. Dornfield to present it, this is the sort of thing that has to strike them. This is my feeling. These are my comments. So I'm trying to pass them along to you. So please don't feel insulted. It's just, this is what strikes me as I read it. And you're right. The dark buildings, the abandoned buildings, the dilapidated buildings, the vacant lots not kept, in my opinion, suppress property values in the redevelopment area. And if that's true, I'd really like to see more words about that in here, so that the reader, who may not be real estate savvy, is getting the impression that these are the things that are holding us back. What can we do to bring the town forward?
Commissioner Pranza, can I ask you something? Do you
Sure. Leslie, where'd you
think it
go?
would be, you know, you always struggle with these. Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
hear me?
can
Can you hear me?
now.
Okay, sorry. You know, you always struggle when you write these plans because usually the people that are picking them up is someone that wants to invest in the community. And so you don't want to drag down the community. You want to kind of say, hey, this is the opportunity. But I hear what you're saying loud and clear. And the reason the redevelopment area is designated and what entitles this plan to be in existence with the power that it has is more than 51% of the properties in this area exhibit slum and blight. And slum and blight's defined by statute. And what we could do, I think, is maybe in about this update or in the beginning section, really talk about what you said, because I think it's a very compelling argument. And I just want to know if you think doing something like that instead of just, we didn't do a slum and blight survey. We tried to work with buildings department. There was some issues with making sure we had all the right data, and it was difficult to make that happen.
I think you did a wonderful job.
Well, all right. So do you think we need to put more discussion about that in here, or are you just saying, is it more of an editorial comment like, hey guys, wake up?
Well, see, my discipline is mechanical engineering, so I'm a technical writer. And so to me, if there was a summary or something up front, this is your condition of town, I know I'm making this hard for you, Leslie, but there needs to be more words in here that are motivating, that when the reader 6 months, a year from now, and I'm talking about our senior management, our council, when they pick this up, they understand that these are the things that are holding us back. Because quite frankly, my wife and I came here 18 years ago, and we found a town that was on a rebound. It was on its way up. So we bought a historic building and we restored it. And a lot of moving parts 6, 7 years ago. And I'm not pointing fingers. The town decided to vote to limit spending in the town council. And from that point on, there's been almost a perfect storm where the vitality of the town has just been drained. We were very social. We had the Rotary Club, we had the Lions Club, we had the Main Street program. Our downtown was always busy. But 6, 7 years ago, certain things happened within the town. Part of it was that vote that limited spending, where we just made an about face, an immediate about face. And where you see us now is really what's occurred over that 6 or 7 years. So we need to turn that around. And I'm throwing stuff at you that you really can't use or do anything with, but emphasizing that the material condition of the surrounding neighborhood is what supports, is what supports investment, would be much appreciated on my part. So anyway, I think I've beat this horse to death. If you can consolidate what's on page 20, 25, 37, and 51 so that they're getting it all at one time rather than pieces, maybe that would be a giant leap forward as far as comprehension, because it's very comprehensive and it's not something you can absorb in one reading. It takes a while to get through this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's all of my comments. I appreciate your ear, Ms. Thornfield. And do we have any other comments or questions? Mr. Frost?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple. A couple of them are just in the body of the text that I'll just ask questions about. And I did print off the PDF, so I'm going off reference on that on page 12. It talks about housing unit or housing by type of unit is the graphic. And then annotated beside it is the third paragraph there that reads mobile homes account for nearly 30% of the housing stock in the city of Florence. So city needs to be corrected to town. But I was amazed that it's 30%. I just don't see that as I drive around.
Florence Gardens and Caliente.
Oh, that's what. Oh.
Yes, it is very deceiving how many units are in Florence Gardens, Caliente, Tierra del Sol.
Okay, yeah, I totally spaced on that. Okay, that makes sense then. Okay. So just a correction on the town of Florence, that would be great. The next one is on page 30. And this is just to try to match up the naming on the exhibit that you have there, because it has downtown gateway and historic core, South Gateway, other.
Yeah.
They don't match the naming going down.
We'll take care of that. Yeah, we recognize that. We're sorry about that.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that took care of kind of the nitpicky stuff. The rest of my comments relate to parking. And I'll just give you the background that I came from. I joined the staff of the town of Gilbert in 1984 when they were going through this same wrestle about what are we going to do with the downtown? How are we going to make it vibrant? What do we do to bring this? And you know what, it's there, what's now, it's incredible what's happened. But one of the things that the visionaries had in mind there was, if we're going to attract businesses, we have to have close proximity parking, because we want to have people coming in from outside of our community. And, oh, sorry. And even people from our community, we want them to come in and walk, but they need to have a close place close by to park. And the glaring weakness that I see in this is we call for it, but we never really get specific about with a recommendation of we need to preserve this much parking in these strategic areas. And just to wrap my head around this, I looked up some information on Olive Garden, and Olive Garden wants a square footage of somewhere between 7,000 to 8,000 square feet, and they're looking for 130 to 140 parking places. And so I just did some research in the downtown, and the parking lot that's behind the Chop Shop, Pioneer Title, and the craft store, that's 60 spaces. And that's our biggest parking area in the town right now. And so if we manage to attract one of these really vibrant destination entertainment type restaurants, we won't be able to support it. They'll just come and look and go, you know, that's a wonderful dynamic downtown, but we can't go there because you can't provide me the parking. And if you add 2 or 3 to those, like what's happened in Gilbert, that would be huge for this area. And that would be another huge draw to have, you know, families live in close proximity where they can come down here. So I'll get off my soapbox, but somewhere we have got to incorporate parking into this so that we can support what we're trying to draw here. If they don't see it, they won't come.
We can make a recommendation in the plan that the town do a parking study. I think that would probably be the first step to really see what you've got. Sometimes just even by reorganizing spaces, you can pick, as you know, you can pick up some, and then over time, as development occurs, it's probably something they're going to need to consider. I would only hope that that becomes an issue in your downtown.
Well, and
if I could add to that, Commissioner Frost, that's a dilemma that a lot of resurgence in downtowns, you know, has to face. And being as small as we are to begin with, it's even more so of an issue here. You know, how much land area for potential building and development do you give up to put in parking lots, and where should they be, and things of that nature. So, I mean, a parking assessment is likely a good idea. One of the things that we've been doing at staff level when we have these kind of discussions is also, though, pointing out that it's not only the parking that the town has provided within the, you know, closer to the Main Street area, but there's parking available, especially on the weekend events, at the county complex, up at our Heritage Park, across from Town Hall, the Town Hall lot itself. And so, yeah, and that's why your redevelopment plan, especially on this north end, is really got to focus on the pedestrian accessibility and the pedestrian atmosphere that you create. So you encourage people to actually walk from place to place and up and down your sidewalks. And that way your parking isn't the predominant land feature in your downtown. So it's a dilemma, no doubt about it.
Well, I'm just thinking now with, as someone was alluding to earlier, with changes happening with lots selling, if we don't get in there now and at least set aside some land, and whether that becomes a parking structure like they've done in Gilbert or the traditional parking lot, I'd rather go with a parking structure. Then you get some look to it and more beneficial use. But if we don't reserve some of these properties now, when the time comes, we're going to be in a world of hurt. And particularly with, this downtown area, the developable area between streets it's not even 150 feet.
Right.
So if you come in and place a restaurant there, they've just taken up everything with building. Where are they going to park? I won't say anymore. I think I've made my point. Thank you.
But and I do agree with you on that. And I think Prescott's another example. They finally did build a parking structure 2 blocks off of the courthouse plaza.
Yeah, they did.
So you do have the pedestrian accessibility from that degree. I've built several parking structures over the years. And one of the things that we would do in the community where I did this is the ground level of the structure was also retail space. Properly designed, you can actually preserve your pedestrian orientation and walkability, and even in front of a parking structure, by providing a certain design factor that allows for retail space on the ground level. The most successful restaurant in downtown Salem, Oregon, was on an alley inside of a parking structure. So, there are ways of making it work. That's the easy part. Financing and to have it work is where the difficult part is.
I just think we need to take some action now to think about those things, or we're going to lose the opportunity altogether.
We
I
can
know-
add a strategy in to make sure that doesn't get left out. So yeah, no problem.
Good.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. I'd like to say, Ms. Dornfield, this is a very comprehensive package. It is loaded with low-hanging fruit, and it is my sincerest hopes that it's taken seriously by those who have the power to do something with it.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. I know that on behalf of our team, everybody we love downtown Florence. We're all longtime Arizonans, and
Okay, tell them
We
to
get
move
it.
on in.
you got it. Okay, well, thank you again. Thanks for the opportunity. I think we'll be back before you again, right, to take action. Am I right, Larry?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it'll be at your next meeting or the first meeting in February, somewhere in that range. We were going to have it back on your agenda for recommendation to the council. We're going to try to get the same thing from HDAC, and then I'll be working directly with the town clerk on how we package this and do presentations in front of the council and ultimately get it in front of the council for their adoption. It's an adoption by resolution, so it's a fairly simple process at that point, and then that gets us current with state law.
Good.
Great. Okay, moving right along. Presentations, information only. General plan update, Larry.
Yes, sir. We are going to be more active over the next 30 days, I would say, working with the consultant. Just like there was an online survey for the draft of the redevelopment plan, we're going to be getting deeper into starting to create some of the policies and strategies for the general plan with the same tool. Will be more online access for discussions and survey information, things like that. If you haven't noticed, on our website, the front page or the home page of the Town of Florence website, there is a banner on there, specifically takes you into the general plan process, and that will be updated regularly as some of this process moves forward. There's also one there for we got the redevelopment plan moved to the front page also, which has been nice. So basically, we're just going to do as much as we can possibly do on a digital manner, since we cannot have face-to-face meetings quite at this point. That was one of the luxuries we did have with the redevelopment plan, is we were able to have some face-to-face meetings early on with, community meetings and things like that. So we're trying to make the best of a bad situation with the general plan, and just we're going to get rather aggressive with it over the next 30 days.
Good.
Do we really need to go through the redevelopment plan update?
I think you pretty much beat that to death for tonight.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll move right along to the future agenda items.
Right now, we're waiting on just certain review clearances from in-house so that we can get these on your agenda, but we have a design review coming up for a Big O tire, for a Superstar car wash. American Leadership Academy out on Hunt Highway is doubling its size as far as property by bringing in a high school and athletic fields. That'll be coming forward for design review. We have another significant plat coming up for a PUD that has been dormant ever since the mid 2000s or early 2000s. As soon as that's released by engineering, you'll be getting a preliminary plat. I've forgotten how many lots, Maricela, how many they're in on that one, but it's in the hundreds. 300, 350.
Yeah, it's 4 parcels. So
Yeah. It's a significant development, and it's up just south of Judd Road, just across from Magma Ranch. Those are the ones that I can think of right off the top of my head that are pending. Will be coming up. plus the two more significant ones. We're scheduling public hearings for your February 4th meeting. One will be on recreational marijuana as directed by the council to bring forward in a code amendment. And we'll be having the public hearing for the home occupation code amendment that you have been working on.
Oh, great. I'm looking forward to that one. Great.
So you're going to be
Okay.
busy.
Well, that's good. Makes me feel like I'm doing something. Okay. Moving right
Chairman?
along.
Mr. Chair,
Call. I'm sorry. Is
Mr.
there
Chairman,
any?
is
Yes.
this an opportunity to ask for agenda items as well?
I don't know. No,
Yeah,
it's-
that means yes, certainly.
Okay, super.
Or under call of the commission, either way you want to do it, Mr. Chairman.
Well, why don't we do it now while it's on the floor?
Okay. Just maybe an update at a future meeting on where ADOT is at with the roundabout process.
Yeah.
Kind of give us an update on that. And the other, and it kind of jogged a memory cell when Maricel was just talking about this new development coming in. I know we're in that part of the world, we're highly constrained by wastewater capacity. And it might be a good thing just to have an update of what's happening with the EPCOR/Johnson Utilities process and where that is in the timing on that, because that will seem to constrain and potentially a lot of the developments that can happen out in that part of the world. So that might be good to update us on what's going on there.
Okay. We will arrange that on a not so busy meeting night.
That'd be great. Okay, anything else? All right, moving right along, call to the public. Do we have any public?
At this time, Chairman, no, we do not.
Okay, then we'll move along to call to the commission, current events only. I have two current events. One of them is kind of interesting. The town council, not town council. God, what is happening to me? I must be tired. Roger Beatty.
Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Has introduced autism certification, an autistic friendly town. I'd never heard of it before, but evidently the fire department and the police department are on board and are scheduled to begin training. And I don't know what all is involved in it, but we should be aware of it. They call it an autism certification. Mesa has it as well. So we'll see what goes with that. Second bit of news. I believe tomorrow is your last day, Larry?
As full-time, yes, sir. However, I have been arm wrestled into staying on a part-time basis, be approximately 16 hours a week. It will not be on a set schedule. It'll be based on, what meeting nights and, and meetings during the day and different types of tasks. So that part will be flexible. But for any of you who know me, I'm going to, I'll be in constant contact as needed. That's not going to be an issue. But it's time for me to just cut back on the intensity and how many hours a week and maybe be able to sleep past 4 o'clock in the morning for a change.
Good luck with that. Well, it needs to be said, how do I put this? 18 years ago, I became a planning and zoning commissioner. That's how long I've been in and out of this role. And I really thought I'd gotten myself in trouble because there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. And so I had a talk with Mr. Eckhoff, who was our director at the time. And it became a symbiotic relationship where I was constantly in a gray area, didn't know how to decide, and I could go to the senior planner and get advice. And I've come to rely on the planning department heavily to help me through some tough decisions. And you have certainly been one of those people, Larry. And I appreciate the hell out of it because I am not a planner and I need your expertise. And now I get to rely on Ms. Benitez to help me through my ignorance. So anyway, those are my two pieces of current events. Do we have any others?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
maybe a couple of questions, I guess. Florence has a great event in the late winter, early spring, I guess, the historic home tour. Is that kaput this year or is it still on? Do we know?
I
Yes,
don't have a clue.
the historic home tour was canceled for this year due to the lack of houses and mostly because they didn't want to open up their homes to COVID.
Sure, okay. And then I know the town is in some process of hiring a principal planner, a senior planner. Where's the town at in that?
I'll actually address that. So we are. So basically, we started trying to fill this position in October. We honestly believe through COVID, through the holidays, it was a little bit slow. At that time, that's when we started negotiating and talking with Larry to stay on. Him agreeing to that has kind of been able to give us some time. We're not going to knee jerk hiring, and so we're stepping up those efforts right now. But like I say, Larry staying on, and of course Marcella and what she does for us too. We don't have to rush into anything, and we're not planning on rushing into anything.
Good.
And so
Good.
what's your time frame on that?
Actually, we're going to meet next week to go over what has been advertised and what we're doing to see if we can do something different, that kind of thing. So I would say that our time frame, and we actually asked Larry, if he could be on a few months at minimum. So again, we're not going to knee jerk it, but I would say that we would be in the neighborhood of 30 to 60 days where we would be actually looking at some applicants. That's our hope. And we'll keep you guys updated on everything as well.
Okay, any other current events? All right, then. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, that we adjourn.
Can I get a second?
I'll second the motion.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Pro, second by Commissioner Simmons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No one ever opposes. Okay, we are adjourned.